Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the one and only Millennial Mike. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Ready for the next round.
Yeah, so something you are gracious enough to do to us is a lot of the audience is sending you, messaging you videos that they want me and you to react to. And looks like Dave Ramsey is next. Before we get into the video, I haven't seen it, so I don't watch Dave Ramsey's stuff. I want to say a couple of things. First and foremost, I believe Dave Ramsey has helped millions of people, probably tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions. Dave Ramsey's baby steps really help a lot of people. On the other side of the coin, I have publicly said, and I still believe, Dave Ramsey's real estate investing advice is some of the worst I've ever heard. It just is. I can talk about Dave Ramsey. Maybe 85 or 90% of the stuff he puts out there is outstanding, respectful, and helpful. But again, his real estate investing advice, in my opinion, is some of the worst out there. I don't know what I'm about to see. So I just wanted to kind of level set that.
Well, no problem, Mike. And I agree with you big time. I'm actually a fan of Dave Ramsey. I've listened to him since I was 18 years old. He's what kept me out of credit card debt and student loan debt and all that stuff. But then as I got older and I realized I wanted to invest in real estate, I found channels like yours, which have helped me grow. That's how I have 4 different cards over just a 1-year period. I picked up 4 rental properties. And so I have my thank you cards from you. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to watch Dave Ramsey, and we're going to come to the defense or to the agreement, or we're going to join forces with Dave Ramsey, because what he's going to talk about is a question and a comment and a concern many people have voiced in your comment section, which is interest rates are going up. Prices have to come down. There's no way that prices can't come down. So Dave Ramsey is going to give us a little bit of an education here. Let's go ahead and check this video out.
In 1978, the rates went from 9.75% to 10%. It was the first time we saw interest rates go above 10%. Was in 1978, in modern history anyway, for homes. And they, under the Carter administration, they went on all the way up to 18% in 1981. And so I was selling houses as a young guy at 18% interest rate. The interesting thing was we were selling houses, not many of them. The demand was really, really low. The market just slowed way down. A lot of the sellers stepped back and sat on the sidelines and just were going to wait the storm out, because they weren't going to try to sell a house to somebody when they're 18% interest rate, and they were going to try to get some kind of lowball offer. A few sellers here or there in those days were giving houses away because it's the only way they could get them to move. But overall, we had these high interest rates, and here is house prices, the orange one. House prices did not go down during the most extreme, crazy interest rate increase in history. They didn't go down at all. They steadily have increased all the way up into the 90s, regardless of what the interest rates were. Bottom line is, though, the supply-demand curves did not cross, and so you continue to see these house prices increase regardless of interest rates, regardless of interest rates. Interest rates will not cause home prices to go down. There's no time in history they have.
Okay, so in that video, we see Dave talking about a point that you've made many times, which is that sellers, as he opened it up by saying, the market slowed way down, transactions cooled off. The market slowed way down. Sellers pulled back. They were not forced into selling. And then he even said, yeah, they just weren't going to sell and get into an interest rate debacle. And so they just pulled way back and held off, but they were still selling houses and prices continued to rise.
Yeah. And again, he's basically pulling data right out of the 52-year spreadsheet. It's obviously not my spreadsheet, but that's what my spreadsheet shows. And that's why I confidently 6 months ago was screaming at the top of my lungs, we are going to have a housing crash in transactions. We are going to see sellers pull back. We're going to see buyers unqualified. It's going to be a market that slows way down. Now what I'm saying in the last 5 to 10 days is, if you are paid on commission, or what I call wet your beak on a single housing transaction, which I've had real estate brokers estimate there's up to 15 different roles that get a tiny piece, all the way from notaries, like notary republics, all the way up to escrows and titles and lenders and agents and brokers. Is 15 people. You're going to feel like a depression. The rest of the economy, I think, is heading into a recession. But housing, everybody who screams, like Patrick Bet David, interest rates are 3, then 6, and 9, and by the way, I think they're going to 10 or 11. It's going to crash. No, it's not. Most people, when they sell, buy something else. Transactions are going to stop. Yes, there, as Dave Ramsey says correctly, some people will give houses away. Sure, some. Some people will buy because they have to. Some people, 25% of transactions, according to National Association of Realtors, are cash. Do they give one rat's ass about a 10 or a 12 or a 15% interest rates? Nope. So again, confidently believe we are going to see 30 to 50% housing crash peak to trough over multiple years in transactions. And most of you are going to be greatly disappointed that median home price is flat. Yes, there will be Boise's and probably Phoenix that go down, but on a national level, which is all I talk about, I either talk about Fresno or national because it's all I know. It's not going to happen. The people listening to doom porn are going to continue sitting on the couch.
So we have one more clip from Dave Ramsey to watch right here, and he's going to talk about right there. He kind of highlighted the supply demand issues and interest rates. He's going to talk about the economy and prices crashing overall. So we'll jump in on that. If you are enjoying this, guys, make sure that you do like the video. Subscribe to the One Rental at a Time channel. If you want to add your own video to be reacted to, leave a link to that video down in the comments section. All right, let me share this last one real quick.
The only time in the last 100 years or so, close to 100 years, that we've seen house prices go down across the board in the United States was during 2008. And it was a different set of economic circumstances during that time. So, in summary, let's look at this. All right, supply, there's a shortage of used inventory. Remember, 3.8 versus 3.6 versus 800,000 for sale. Home starts are down. Remember, 2.1 million down to 1.38. Remember that? And foreclosures have been non-existent down. They're barely starting to come back. And then let's look at the demand against that supply. There's 5 million more millennial buyers in their mid-30s. There's 12 million more overall householders, and investors are buying 1 out of every 4 houses that are sold. All of that is a pressure against this shortage that's going to tell you that we're not going to see a crash in housing prices. This looks nothing like 2008. This looks more like all the other times in history we've seen houses go along and what's happening. The biggest problem we've got is we're going to have a housing shortage that's going to be prolonged over a long period of time. Supply demand is not going to allow this market to crash. If you purchase properly, this is one of the best times in history to buy right now. A lot better than a year ago because prices were crazy. And it's a great time to sell, but it's going to be more of a normal selling environment instead of an auction where you put your house on the market and get 85 offers in 42 minutes. Okay, it's not going to be, hopefully that's gone because that's not healthy for the market. It's not healthy.
All right, Mike, so he said a lot of different stuff in there. What do you think?
So first and foremost, this is why you respect and admire Dave Ramsey. He's spitting facts, kind of non-emotional. It doesn't feel to me that he's trying to shove you in his pipeline. It feels to me that this is what I think happened. A lot of Dave Ramsey's fans and followers, and he has millions, probably tens of millions of them, are reaching out to him saying, "Hey, I'm waiting for the crash." And he's like, he had enough. It feels to me like he got to his breaking point with housing crash videos. And he's like, okay, let's do a 60-minute deep dive answering that question. Here you go. So it didn't feel like to me that he was shoving you in a pipeline. So shout out Dave Ramsey for being the OG and leading by example. Second, the one thing that I would add on to his supply demand curve, because he's got them, there's one thing that's missing that I didn't see there, and that is forced sellers. What made 08 bad? And again, if you look at my 52-year spreadsheet, we actually had 5 years of negative home appreciation, negative 5 years, with the largest being 08 at negative 8.9%. It was bad. It was 5 years of bad. But that was a cascading collection of forced sellers because we had 50% of loans at adjustables. Most of those, the 2 and 28 teaser, nag am, just toxic garbage that could only blow up. We don't have that today. Heading into 2022, 98% of loans were 30-year fixed, 80% of loans below 4, 50% below 3.5, 13% with a 2 on it. All of that's according to Black Knight. I've linked to the source dozens of times. So again, I want to give credit to Dave Ramsey. I had no idea what I was going to watch. My opening salvo stands. 90% of what he says is amazing. He's helping millions of people. I think his real estate investing advice is some of the worst I've seen, but none of this was real estate investing. This was all fact-based. I thought he was talking to home buyers. And I want to stand here and applaud Dave for tackling a topic. Because again, there's a lot of people that have been sitting. I'm getting messages from people that said, hey, I listened to other channels and did nothing last year. And you know what? You were right. It was an amazing year to buy. It just was. The math says. So again, I was a little nervous when you told me we were going to rack to Dave Ramsey, because he does have a couple of things that rubbed me the wrong way, but none of this, all this was awesome. So thank you for that.
We'll save those ones for next time.
Okay.
But yeah, he makes very good points. He's trying to, and for the record, if you compare this to the Valuetainment clip, it's not a dark, gritty film style. There's not a bunch of ominous music over it. It's here's the facts. Here's what really happened. I was there at the time doing this business myself. Here's what prices did. Here's what inventory did. Here's what sellers did. I want you to think for a second, whenever we talk about forced sellers, would you sell your house at a loss? Even if you wanted to move somewhere else and you wanted to get a nicer house, are you really going to sell at a 20 or 30% loss?
No, that's actually,
you could sell?
That's the wrong question. Well,
Okay.
I mean, it's certainly a question. Let's say you have $100,000 in equity. Let's just pretend. I would tell you to do the math. And I've had, I think, over 40 people do the math for me now. Here's the deal. You bought a house. Let's say you were lucky and you bought a house in 2020. And you're looking to, like, you got married, had a kid, your wife is pregnant with another one, you want to move. This is what the Fortune editor, Lance Lambert, I interviewed him, it's on my channel, Fortune magazine editor. He moved from New York City studio apartment to somewhere in Tennessee, I believe. And he's like, got a new home, right? You know, got all the space. He got in 2021. He said, Michael, I should have bought a bigger home. My wife's pregnant again. I'm like, well, congratulations. But he goes, we're stuck. And I said, yeah, you're going to buy bunk beds, aren't you? And he goes, I have to, right? He's sitting on another $100,000 of equity. But now in order to move, he can, even if he moved all the equity up, because right now his rate's 2.8 and it would be 6.1 or whatever it would be today, the payment's almost tripled.
Yeah.
He needs another bedroom, but he can't move. So it's not like, hey, would you sell your home at a loss? Shoot, would you sell your home at a gain? The more interest rates matter. We have supply lock-in, i.e. the editor of Fortune magazine is frozen. He can't move. He has equity, a good job. It is unaffordable to move. He is stuck. He's going to go to the store and buy bunk beds. It's just going to happen.
An interesting thing that you say all the time is housing prices are sticky. It's very hard for a market to crash quickly, which is why you go after people like Reventure Consulting. They're like, the market's going to crash by November. November comes. The market's going to crash by January.
Yeah.
It doesn't move that quickly. But what is interesting, one thing that we're learning is that while housing prices themselves are sticky and slow to move, and you're not going to see an extremely sharp decline, housing affordability, because of what interest rates can do, moves extremely quickly. We have found out in recent times.
Yeah, and this is all in the 52-year spreadsheet. I can't believe we give it away for free. It's over a day of my life is in that spreadsheet now. And we have had one other time where rates doubled in 100 days. And that is what led me to believe that housing crash and transaction is real, and it's happening right now. We have seen this movie before. And everybody wants to argue and say this time is different. It's not. It's just not. It's not different. It's just not.
That's all I got for you, Mike. Those are the videos we were reacting to this week.
Well, thank you for doing this. Again, I was a little nervous heading into a Dave Ramsey session. I'm glad. Again, I think he's wonderful. Helped probably hundreds of millions of people. I could one day hope to, help a tenth of what he's done. So shout out to him. Shout out for him for just taking the facts. I guarantee you his fans were saying housing crash, housing, and he just had enough. So I'm glad he tackled a hot topic. And Millennial Mike, thank you. You are doing something that my channel's never had: edited videos, reaction videos. You made the offer. You've done the work. Where can people find you?
Yeah, if you just go on Google, YouTube, or Instagram and type in Millennial Mike, and if you have a video that you want us to react to, a Dave Ramsey or some other guru out there that you would like our thoughts and opinions on, leave the comment down below with the link to that video so I can find it, or just send it to me direct on Instagram and I'll make sure that we get it for Mike to react to and give his perspective on.
Yep. Do me a favor, send it directly to him, because I have no idea how he does these edits and all this stuff. It's not my thing.